So, hello everyone. So, in this video, we're going to discuss about the elasticity. So, before we jump into the main point of this topic, we're going to discuss about what is elasticity. So, for economists, elasticity allows to quantify the difference among markets without standardizing the units of measurements, as elasticity provide a unit-free measure when comparing markets through the use of elasticity. The measure of price or quantity is in the two markets does not matter. So, in the simplest term, elasticity, when we say elasticity, it indicates how much of good and services buyers consume when the price changes. So, ang elasticity ko no is kung pila ang makonsume ng good and services if mabago ang presyo. Next is we have elasticity of demand. So, elasticity of demand is a measure of the degree of responsiveness of quantity demand of a product to a given change in one of the independent variable which affect demand for the product. So here in elasticity of demand, when the price or other factor changes, it is one of the change in quantity demanded due to the change in price is large. So we can classify demand elasticity according to factors that cause the change. Thus, we have price elasticity of demand. We have income elasticity of demand. We have cross elasticity of demand. So, ang price elasticity of demand is the measure of how quantity demanded responds to a change in price. Example, pag mutaas ang presyo, maubos ang quantity demanded. Kung gaano kababa yung ibinababa ng price, if the price is low, the quantity demanded raises. Ganon kung gaano ikinataas ng ikinataas or itinaas. We have also income elasticity of demand to change in their income. So, ang income elasticity is talk about how quantity demanded change as the consumer's income change. Kung unsa pagbag-o ang quantity demanded, kung magbago pod ang income ng isa ka consumers. We have also cross elasticity of demand for a certain good in relation to change in price of other related goods. So, sa cross elasticity, here we're going to measure how sensitive is the quantity demanded for good 2 if the price of good 1 changes. So, let's move on to price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand, we are dealing with the sensitivity of quantities brought by the consumer to a change in the product price. Also, price elasticity of demand is also referred to as demand elasticity. We can therefore define the price elasticity as the percentage change in quantity demanded caused by a 1% change in price. So, here is the equation of price elasticity demanded. ED equals to percentage change in quantity demand over percentage change in price. So let's move on to point method or the point elasticity of demand and arc elasticity method. So first, point method or the point elasticity of demand, it computes the elasticity of demand at the particular point on a curve or between 2 points. So as the computation of as follows, o ibutang nako diri ang computation sa point method, we have ED equals to of change in quantity demanded and percentage change in price. So, sa arc elasticity method, the measurement of demand-price elasticity is the arc elasticity method which measures the midpoint between two selected points. So, ibutang po na ako diri ang formula sa arc elasticity because EP equals to Q2 minus Q1 over Q1 plus Q2 divided into 2 divided into P2 minus P1 over P1 plus P2 divided into 2. So if you're wondering unsa nang EP, Q1, Q2, P1, P2, so ang EP mao na siya stands for coefficient of arc price elasticity. Ang Q1 mao na siya ang original quantity demanded. Ang Q2 mao na siya ang new quantity demanded. Ang P1 mao na siya ang original price. Ang P2 is mao niya ang new price. So, we can illustrate the concept of elasticity through the following example. Suppose we have the following price and quantity schedule for good A. So, naa diri ang example schedule. P stands for price and Q stands for quantity. And also, as you can see sa sa example, if ang price is taas, ang quantity is baba. As you can see, 6, 4, 2, 0, 0, 10, 30, 0, 10, 20, 30. So, assuming that we want to determine how consumer would react if the price of good will decrease. So, i-determine nato of kung unsa if how consumer would react if kung ang price mo decrease. For instance, applying the demand elasticity formula, we can solve elasticity coefficient assuming that the price will decrease from 6 pesos to 4 pesos. Kung ang ato ang daw price mo decrease from 6 pesos to 4 pesos, how will consumers will react? And the quantity demanded increases from 0 to 10 units. Substituting the values to our formula, we have. So here, ibutang na ko ang example. We have EP equals to 10 minus 0 and then and then over 0 plus 10 divided into 2 divide 4 minus 6 over 6 plus 4 divided into 2 and then 10 minus 0 equals 10. 0 plus 10 equals 10 divided into 2 equals 5. Mauna siya. 4 minus 6 equals negative 2. And then 6 plus 4 equals 10 divided into 2 equals 5. Then 10 divided into 10 times 5 equals 50. Negative 2 times 5 equals negative 10. So, 50 divided into negative 10 equals to negative 5. So, comparing point elasticity and arc elasticity of demand. So, we have discussed ways on how elasticity of demand can be computed. To give an example in computing, let's say, quantity demanded for notebooks increased from 200 to 300 and a price decreased from 4 to 3. Looking at the graph, point A to B represented the change in the quantity demand and the price. So here, mag-insert ko graph. As we can see, if ang price is taas, gamay ra ang quantity demanded. Low ang quantity demanded, and if the price is low, the higher the quantity demanded. So, the graph shows an increase in the quantity demanded when the price is reduced. So, comparing the result from using point elasticity and arc elasticity method, we get a different output. It can be fairly observed that the computation for each yield a different result. So, as compare nato ang ilang mga result, as ma-compare nato sila, from using elasticity and point elasticity and arc elasticity method, we get a different output. So, let's move on to the interpretation of elasticity coefficient. So, for economists, solving the elasticity coefficient is only a tool rather than an end itself. Why it is important to them and to you is to understand the meaning of the computed elasticity coefficient. Our concern now is how to analyze and interpret the elasticity coefficient. Actually, there are only certain rules to remember in analyzing and interpreting coefficient. And interpreting the elasticity coefficient. As you will notice, the following this discussion, the demand for a product is said to be inelastic if consumers will pay almost any price for a product. So, kung makaingon tag inelastic ang isa ka product, kung ang buyer mo palit gihapon siya if mo taas or mo pay gihapon siya ng any price for a product or mo taas or mo umubo ang product, mo buy gihapon siya. Let's say the price of gasoline increased by 1% and the quantity demanded falls by 0.2%. We can say that demand for gasoline is not very price sensitive. This means that if the price of the product increases, consumers will still buy for goods because there is a need for gasoline. Like for example of gasoline, bisan mo mahal or mo barato ang gasolina, mo palit gihapon ang mga tao because needs gihapon nato ng gasolina for our everyday uses sa ato pang-transpo. Like that. Those we can say that demand and inelastic if the computed elasticity coefficient is less than 1. If less than 1 ang computed sa elasticity coefficient, that is an elastic. An elastic demand means that the producer or seller can raises prices without hurting much demand for its product. So, ang inelastic, pwede ra sila maka-increase og prices without hurting their demand. Discount pa mo increase sila ng price, dili gihapon mas masakitan ang ilang mga demand. An elastic demand means that the consumers are sensitive to the price at which a product is sold and only buy if the price raises by their consider too much. Lahi sab ang sa elastic demand. And sa elastic demand is ang mga tao or ang consumers is more on sensitive sila sa price. If mobile sila if ang prices mubaba na sa consider nila na too much. The demand for a product may be elastic if the consumer will only pay a certain price. So, if ang consumer mo pay na sila ng certain price, it calls inelastic. Or a narrow range of prices for the product. Let's say that the price of gold jewelry increases by 1%, but the quantity demanded falls by 2.6%. The computed price elasticity of demand is negative 2.6. This means that the demand for gold jewelry is very price sensitive. That when the gold shot up, demand for gold can largely go down. So, example sa elastic demand, kung ang price ng, example natin is gold, kung ang price ng gold is mutaas, syempre, gamay daan magpalit because gamay daan maka-afford. And the demand for gold can largely go down. So, dako gayud ang iya kuan pag less nan iya quantity demand kung mumahala siya. We can say that the demand is elastic if the computed elastic coefficient is greater than 1. If greater than 1 ang computed ng elasticity coefficient, makaingon taog elastic siya. We already know that the fall in the price of a good result is an increase of the quantity demanded by consumers. However, the demand for a good is inelastic when the change in quantity demand is less than the change in price. Thus, we can say that the demand and inelasticity if the computed elasticity coefficient is less than 1. Generally, goods and services for which is are no close substitutes are inelastic. So, ang goods and services for which are not close substitutes are inelastic, like basic food items like rice, yan, mga pagkaon nato. So, like I say, makaingon ta nga mga inelastic ang isa ka product if yan ato gid siya makonsider na magamit ato adlaw-adlaw na bisan mo mahal ang iya price mo palit gihapon kita. Example, mga medicine, mga rice, yan ning ana gani sa pang adlaw-adlaw na panggamiton. And the example pud sa inelastic are like mga cigarette na biskan also sa mga inelastic food example pod ana is yan mga sigarilyo, like biskan mo mahal ang mga sigarilyo mo palit gihapon ang mga smokers kay mundan hanapon na gid yun ang ilalawas. So, ang sa elastic, sa makaingon ta nga elastic ang isa ka product, like yawn mga clothes, appliances, cars, and mga yawn amon mga example nan elastic product. Or, that's all for my report.
My name is Michael John Carl M. Velasco. My report is graphical illustration. The price elastic of demand can be analyzed. Graphical figure 3.1 illustrate an elastic demand curve, while figure 3.2 shows the inelastic demand curve. There are important factors that influence demand elasticity, including A is of substitution, B is proportion of total revenue, C is durability of product, which may include I, possibility of postponing purchase, possibility of repair, and product market. D is length of time period, and price elasticity of demand and change in the total revenue. Elasticity provides the information on the effect of price change of the total revenue. Total revenue equals selling price times quantity sold. For example, if the price of good is 5 pesos and the sold items are 50, units total revenue will be 250. So, the formula is total revenue equals price times sold item, and equal yan siya amo yan tawag na total revenue. Figure 3.5 total revenue elastic demand. An extreme demand can be perfectly priced elasticity, that is, price change have an effect on quantity demand. A perfect elastic demand curve is illustrate as a straight vertical line. So pag maglang ka na perfect demand curve, dapat ko ano yan siya, ang line is straight vertical line. A perfect elastic demand curve is illustrated as a straight horizontal line. Figure 3.6 extreme types of demand elasticity. Perfect elasticity demand. It when the demand for a product change, increase or decrease. Even when there is no change in the price, this means that the quantity demand is a price sensitive as possible. So, ang perfect elasticity demand curve illustrate as a horizontal line. Horizontal line siya basta kuan siya illustrated.
Good day, everyone. I discuss elasticity of supply. Supply elasticity refers to the direction of response of the sellers or producers to price changes of goods sold. In other words, it is a measure of a degree of responsiveness of supply to given change in price. Another formula, a percentage change in quantity supplied divided by percentage change in price. Q2 minus Q1 divided by Q1 plus Q2 times 2 plus P2 minus P1 divided by P1 plus P2 times 2. Supply elastic. If a percentage change in price result in a more than proportionate change in the quantity supplied, then quantity supplied is said to be price elastic. Uh, kung ang persentong magbabago sa presyo ay nadulot ng mas malaki kaysa proportional na magbabago sa dami ng inaalok, sinasabi na ang quantity supplied ay tinatawag na price elastic. Sa madaling salita, kung mas mataas ang reaksyon ng mga nagbibenta sa market sa bawat pagbabago ng presyo, tinatawag itong price elastic. Halimbawa, kung ang presyo ng isang klase ng cellphone ay tumataas ng 10% at ang dami ng cellphone na inaalok ng mga nagbibenta ay bumababa ng 15%, ito ay tinatawag na price elastic na quantity supply. Ibig sabihin nga at na tumataas ang presyo, mas marami pa rin ang nagbibenta ng cellphone dahil sensitibo ang mga mamimili sa pagbabago ng presyo nito. Supply inelastic. Conversely, if a change in price produces than proportionate change in the quantity supplied, then supply is considered price inelastic. Kung ang pagbabago sa presyo ay nagdudulot ng mas maliit kaysa sa proportional na pagbabago sa dami ng inaalok, itinuturing itong price inelastic o hindi gaano sensitibo sa presyo. Sa mas simple ng pagsasalita, kung hindi gaanong nagbabago ang dami ng inaalok kahit na magbabago ang presyo, ito ay tinatawag na price inelastic. Halimbawa, kung presyo ng isang pangunahing bilhin tulad ng bigas ay tumataas ng 10% at ang dami ng bigas lagi ito sa merkado ay bumababa ng 5%, ito ay maaring ituring na price inelastic. Ang supply ng bigas ay ibig sabihin kahit na nagtataas ang presyo, hindi ganong nababawasan ang dami ng bigas ng inaalok dahil na ang bigas ay tinuturing pangunahing pangangailangan at karamihan sa mga mamimili ay patuloy pa rin itong bibilin kahit na may pataasan na presyo. Extreme types of supply inelasticity. On the other hand, supply can be perfectly price elastic. That is, any amount will be supplied at the prevailing price. A perfectly inelastic supply curve is illustrated by a straight vertical. Ang perfectly elastic na supply ay mangyayari kapag anuman ang presyo agad at buong dami ng produkto o serbisyo ang inaalok sa merkado. Sa madaling salita, ito ay parang walang limitasyon ang supply at handang magbigay ng anumang dami sa partikular na presyo. Halimbawa, kunwari may isang kumpanya na nagbibenta ng kahit anong bilang ng piraso ng kente sa halagang 1 PHP. Bawat piraso kahit anong dami ng kindi ang bilhin mo, ang kumpanya ay handang mabigyan nito sa parehong halaga. Ito ay isang halimbawa ng perfectly elastic na supply dahil kahit gaano karaming kindi ang gusto mong bilhin, ang dami ng supply ay hindi nagbabago sa tinakdang presyo. Ang perfectly inelastic na supply na nangyari kapag ang kahit anong pagbabago sa presyo, ang daming inaalok sa produkto or serbisyo ay hindi nagbabago. Ibig sabihin ang supply ay hindi apektado o hindi nagiging mas marami o mas kaunti kahit na magbabago ang presyo. Halimbawa, isang ito ay ang gamot para sa isang critical na karamihan. Kahit itaas ang presyo nito, ang dami ng supply ay nanatili dahil ang pangangailangan ng supply ay nanatili dahil ang pangangailangan ng tao para dito ay hindi maaaring iwaksi. Kahit gaano kataas ang presyo ng gamot, ang dami ng supply nito ay nanatili dahil ang kahalagahan nito ay kalusugan ay hindi maaaring baliwalain. Ito ang isang ehemplo ng perfectly inelastic na supply kung saan ang dami ng inaalok ay hindi nagbabago kahit anong pag-akyat o pagbaba ng presyo.